Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Scott Giacomucci. I'm a trauma therapist and educator. And today I wanted to talk a bit about trauma and self-worth. So trauma really impacts our self-worth, essentially. Trauma, any type of trauma, can really leave us feeling devalued as a person or less than as a human being. It can leave us feeling like we're a failure. And many times we start to, especially with relational trauma, we start to adopt the negative beliefs or negative messages from our perpetrators and believe them ourselves. We start to believe that we're worthless, or that we're no good, or that it's all our fault, or that the world will be better off without us. So these are actually symptoms of PTSD and complex PTSD. Both post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder specifically talk about feeling like a failure or having negative beliefs about yourself as symptoms of these disorders. They're not actually true. They're symptoms of a mental health problem that's caused by trauma. Part of trauma recovery has to involve working on self-worth, really learning to believe that we're worthy, that we're valuable, that we deserve respect and care. And as we develop this self-worth, and as we start to believe this, we're a lot less likely to put ourselves in positions to be harmed. We're more likely to be able to set boundaries and ask for what we want and ask for what we need. It's almost like both a low self-worth and high self-worth create a bit of a snowball effect. In that when our self-worth is low, it leads us, unfortunately, into reenactments that just reinforce and strengthen that negative belief and low self-worth. And when we have high self-worth, we end up doing things and reinforcing, engaging in things, relationships that reinforce that positive self-worth and thus increasing the self-worth. So if we can just kind of move the needle from one side to the other, we'll start to get some momentum and things will start to snowball and really notice some rapid change over time. Really want to emphasize that no child is born believing that they're worthless or that they're less than or that they're a failure. Literally no child in the history of the world is born believing this. It's learned. It's learned along the way. It's learned through harm or relationships or society, or it's learned through repeated failures or trauma or loss or abandonment or neglect or racism or whatever it is. But this is a learned belief. It's not something that any of us are born with. So just like it's a learned belief, it also can be unlearned. And we can learn to believe that we're worthy, that we do have intrinsic value and self-worth. Trauma really leaves us feeling like we're less than. And so in trauma recovery, we've got to come to believe and remember that we're all equals. We're all just human beings here. Some helpful things you can do to improve your self-worth would be to surround yourself with supportive people. Take a look at the relationships in your life, the people you're spending time with, your friends, colleagues, family members, and identify who are the people here that are supportive, who are the people here that tend to do things, say things that support my self-worth or reduce my self-worth, and prioritize the relationships that are supporting your self-worth. And many people are going to feel like they don't have relationships that support their self-worth, which is particularly tough. And it's possible to cultivate those relationships, especially in today's day and world. You can go on the internet, you can find online support groups, you can find online communities, and you can go out into your local community and find support groups. Any kind of community that's recovery related, that's mental health related, that's spiritually inclined, that's personal growth oriented, exercise, sports, hobbies. Pick one and jump into it. You might be pleasantly surprised at the availability and accessibility of supportive relationships in close proximity to you, wherever you're living, working. Sometimes we just get stuck and feel like there's no other way and there's nobody else around. But in reality, there are probably unlimited potentials of relationships that you could form, depending on where you direct your energy, your attention, and where you're spending your time. It might take some healthy risks to put yourself out there, to try something new, to show up at an event, even if you don't know anyone, to search around on the internet until you find an online community, to attend a Zoom meeting of a support group and check it out. See if it could be helpful for you. Another thing you can do is be really thoughtful about the type of content that you're consuming. If you're watching movies and television shows and listening to music and spending time in communities that are really reinforcing negative beliefs about yourself, you might consider changing that. That's not going to help in terms of building self-worth. Another helpful thing you can do is take some time to really practice gratitude. You'd be surprised at how effective gratitude practices are. Actually, in the field of positive psychology, they did this big research study and looked at all the different interventions that they studied to see which was most helpful at reducing depression and increasing a sense of well-being and happiness. And writing a gratitude letter and delivering it, which takes 10 minutes, was more effective than any other treatment that they researched. So really encourage you to practice gratitude, whether that's writing a letter to someone that you're grateful for, or taking time to imagine the faces of people that you're grateful for, or taking out a pen and making a list of people and things you're grateful for. However you want to practice gratitude, it probably doesn't matter so much, but the fact is, if you're practicing gratitude, you're going to feel an overall stronger sense of well-being and self-worth. And finally, another suggestion to help with self-worth is take some time to identify some positive qualities that you have. Create a list of assets. What are things that you like about yourself, or what are things that other people like about you and find valuable in who you are? Your skills, your physical features, your abilities, your strengths, and make a list of those assets. This can be a difficult list to make, and so you might find it easier to make with someone who's supportive. You might ask someone else to help you make this list. Find a friend, a family member that you trust and feel supported by, and tell them that you're trying to make a list of your positive qualities, and ask them which positive qualities they feel like you should add to the list. For most of us, it's going to be a lot easier to see other people's positive qualities than it is to see our own positive qualities. So this is an exercise that could be really useful to ask for some help creating. But these are some simple things that you can do to increase your sense of self-worth and self-esteem. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to check out other videos on the channel here and subscribe to our channel to be notified about future trauma-related videos that get posted.